I am just starting to stream, so I always need to check to make sure that I am going to YouTube right now. So I should have the go live. It should be automatically going live right now, but it's not quite yet. So let's see what we have going on here. There we go. Okay. So let me take a look at the stream. It says excellent condition, and we're recording. So let's see here. I also have us on the hooked up to the wall, so hopefully I am able to get a better stream over here. But that is, likely always the problem here. Let me just test something. Turn off that Wi-Fi there and see if I get hooked up, and this is give me a better stream over here, although already warnings over there on YouTube. So hopefully the recording is going better than the stream. Hello, I am Dr. Annette Feravich, and I am here with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. And of course, you can find me on the internet at www.healthymindbodyspirit.net. And again, hopefully the YouTube is good. YouTube seems to be not able to give me an excellent signal, and I'm really not quite sure why. But when I end up editing these videos, and especially because Xfinity is supposed to be upgraded for me, so this is really bothersome when you pay extra money and you can't get the stream that you're supposed to be getting. And this is the only thing that seems to have the problem is when I end up going to YouTube. So at first I end up having an excellent stream, and then all of a sudden everything ends up halfway crashing. And so I don't happen to care for that Xfinity or YouTube, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But what I am going to do is go ahead and get started. And what do we have going on today then? Well, today I got to upload a few slides over here as I usually do. Let's see here. So what we're talking about today, and hopefully we will end up, we started just about almost on time today, which is pretty amazing for me. But I don't have a couple things fully in order for us. So, of course, I'm just trying to get a couple more things up to date. But we are on part 2 of our series. So our entire series is A Healthy New You in 2022. And I can't get to that slide until I have this uploaded. And there we go. So, All right, we're going to keep moving over here. We're going to see. There's Lucy in the background. Okay, and let's go ahead. And what are we talking about today? So once again, it is still it is our series, A Healthy New You in 2022, which I thought for sure that I still had. A slide for. But I don't. I still have it up here. Okay, and we did a part one, and the part one was all about a healthy body. Now, part one was really going in depth with a lot of different topics, and some of them we can see here. So, all of these topics here on vitamin D, on weight gain, weight loss, and exercise, what's different about our food today, starting a healthy cleanse, and a whole series on our healthy cleanse, sugar and insulin resistance, supplements versus medication, and information on our thyroid. And then we also talked about getting clean, because that helped us with keeping the spread of bacteria and other diseases down when we keep our bodies clean. Then what we said was on February 27th, which was last week, we ended up talking about last Sunday, we talked about a healthy mind. And then what we did was we promised that we would have a new agenda, and this is part two for our series on a healthy new you in 2022, starting with a healthy mind. So last week what we did was we introduced our agenda. Ooh, there we go. Okay, a healthy new you in 2022. All right, I understand that I am supposed to be talking, but I don't have. The slideshow that I want up here. Oh. And so even though I started on time with all of you, and hopefully some of you are still sticking with me, I don't necessarily have up everything I wanted up. Yeah, I did. Okay. All right. So last week, what we did was we introduced part two, which is about healthy minds from our series on a healthy new you in 2022. From our series, A Healthy New You in 2022. Now, part 2 is on healthy minds. And if you recall, last week we talked about our agenda. And so we introduced our agenda on February 27th last week. And then this week, March 6th, what we're going to do is give you an introduction to this, what we are calling healthy mind therapy, or transformational therapy is what we're calling it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and so we're calling this transformational therapy. So what I want to do is give you a background on what transformational therapy actually is. And when you take a look at this very first picture here, what you can see, and I chose this picture on purpose, because what we're talking about when we're talking about transformational therapy is a couple things. We are talking about real transformation. And what we mean by that, or what I mean by real transformation, is there we go, is that we can really see some change, some really dramatic change. But, all right, so two things right now about transformational therapy that makes it very unique. The very first thing is that, again, it is real change that we want to see. When we have issues, when we have problems, especially as we get older, and what we've done is we've created habits with the way that we solve our problems by maybe avoiding different good solutions for us, or by sabotaging our own successes by self-soothing, right, with drugs and alcohol. So there are a lot of different ways that we try to, especially as we get older, strategize to change ourselves, especially when we see that the same kinds of things end up getting us in the same kinds of positions. Of course, what is a definition of insanity? The definition of insanity is that you keep doing the same thing over and over, but you expect different results, right? All right, but what we want to do is we really want to make sure that we are getting results that are long-term results. And so part of this then is going to be that we expect real transformation. So can we expect that? That's what I'm going to teach you about. I'm going to teach you about expecting real change in your life, real transformation. The other thing about that picture that I chose, and this is the reason why I chose that picture, is because you can see that in order for us to transform, right? So we've got that little string trick that we do, right? And I didn't get one of those strings because I can barely get on here. Anyway, so you do those string tricks, right? And it transforms the strings into a wonderful different shape. And when you were kids, you went and played that game. And I hope that some kids still know what I'm talking about, right? So a clever little game that transformed that string, but not miraculously, right? It wasn't miraculously. It was a transformation that required specific steps. But when you followed those specific steps, you really did see transformation that from one end to the other might seem somewhat miraculous, right? Okay. All right, so that's what we're talking about. That's what I would like to introduce. And for the next 7 weeks, that's what we're going to be focusing on, is we're going to be focusing on how we really can transform in a way by following certain steps that might not always make sense at first, that then change us into something that really does seem to be very miraculous, very different, right? So just, of course, like a caterpillar that goes from a caterpillar to a one. Hold on just a minute, I got a cough. And that transforms us into a beautiful butterfly. And when you think about that, that is an amazing occurrence that happens in nature, right? Specific to the butterfly and the moth, or some, that same kind of that creature, right? Is what we're talking about. And still an amazing transformation. So that's what we're hoping for. And join me for the next 7 weeks at 4 o'clock here. And this is what we're going to be talking about. But for today, I'm giving you an introduction to kind of give you a big picture. All right, so let's take a look at today's agenda. I'm playing with a few things over here. Okay, so for today, what we're going to do, the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give you resources. So if you're hoping to see what is it that I can help you with right off the bat, and maybe you don't stay here, right? Maybe you can't stay here for the entire time, but you take a look at some of the resources. So I'm going to give you resources early on, and I'll tell you why I'm going to give you those resources early on in just a little bit. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is what is transformational therapy. Now, there are different types, or actually, let's say there are different names and sort of different variations of this type of therapy. But most of this comes out of what is spiritual counseling. And so I'm calling it transformational therapy because I have a PhD in psychology and social, cognitive, and developmental psychology. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So I can call it therapy because I have a background in this. However, the roots of this is really, and the roots comes from an individual who does have masters in counseling and also spiritual counseling as well. And so it has been developed, but it's been developed in order for lay people to be able to do this kind of transformation. So this is what is making this transformational therapy so unique. So we're going to continue to talk about the roots of this transformational therapy. And in order for us to talk about the roots, then we are going to have to go a little bit away from what is traditional therapy so that we have a better understanding of what that is. Okay, moving on. I hate that this is jogging all over the place, but we're going to do our best. Okay, all right. So I'm going to introduce then, since we're talking about transformational therapy, what is transformation? I'm going to get a little bit more specific about that today. What is TPM? So TPM is Transformation Prayer Ministries. All right, and so what is TPM? Because that is the roots of my transformational therapy. All right, and then we're going to talk about what is different about healthy mind, body, spirit. So the roots of transformational therapy is in TPM, or Transformation Prayer Ministries. But you can see that I introduced something a little bit different and we're with healthy mind, body, spirit, and that's what we're going to talk about. What is it that I bring that's unique to the agenda? All right, and then I'm going to talk about how you can get transformational therapy and what it's going to cost you. All right, and it's not going to take us hopefully too long to be able to get this whole thing wrapped up for you. All right, so moving on. Here are the resources. So the very first thing that I said to you that I was going to give you is I was going to give you the resources. All right, so resources that I have here are, first of all, to take a look at my website. And you can see there that I have 2 links for the website. One link is for healthymindbodyspirit.net, right? For the mind, so /mind that we have there. And what that gives you is that gives you an idea of what I have for therapy there. So let's take a quick peek at that. All right, so here, let me turn that background off for a second. All right, so here what you can see here is I have got a website for Healthy Mind. Let me interact with that. All right, and so you can see your best life requires a healthy mind. So we start there. If I can get this to scroll. Okay, for some reason it's not interacting with me, so I can't get it to scroll down for you, and that's unfortunate. If you go and you take a look there, what you're going to end up seeing is that I have a lot of information there for a healthy mind. And so take a peek at that. That will give you some information on what my therapy is all about and how it's a little bit different than other people's therapies. Actually, it's quite a bit different than other people's therapies. All right, and then I also have a healthy spirit. So if you take a look at my website, and it is www.healthymindbodyspirit.net /spirit, you will see then how a healthy spirit also plays a part. So I've got information there about some of the therapy underneath Healthy Mind, and I also have some information there. Ooh. Okay, so it is letting me interact, but not the way that I want to right now, so that you can see it there. All right, and so you can see more about the therapy underneath the Healthy Mind if you click on Healthy Mind, and you can find out a little bit more about how the spirit plays a part in this, because we are talking about transformation. And so when we're talking about transformation, we do really want to know how that ends up. Let me refresh that and see. No interaction there. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so technology again worked before, but it probably has to do with this poor connection that I have between YouTube and Xfinity. All right, so again, though, take a look at those 2 areas on my website, www.healthymindbodyspirit.net, and you can see a little bit more in-depth explanation that I have for you on both transformational therapy from a therapeutic aspect, as well as transformation from a spiritual aspect, and some of the things that we're talking about for both of those areas. All right, let's continue on then, because this is dragging out and it shouldn't be. All right. All right, so there are the 2 websites you want to take a look at for transformational therapy. I have a website there for Transformational Prayer Ministries. Now, TPM. TPM is the foundation for this therapy. Now, what I want to say about that is that It took me a long time. I have a background that it is in cognitive, social, and developmental psychology. And in that background, what that does is it gives me a really good idea of the whole person. And that's the reason why I can have a different approach than most uh, therapists that are clinical psychologists and that are licensed clinical psychologists. What's different about my therapy again is that I have a strong background in how individuals actually function and think cognitively, how they develop across a lifespan, and how social interaction changes them. So things like, for example, in social psychology, like how social media changes our thinking about ourselves and our self-esteem would be something that I would have studied the science behind and know the scientific evidence behind it. So that's what makes my background rather unique when you compare it to a regular therapist or a clinical psychologist, for example. But then what I did was I applied what my knowledge is along with what is known as Transformational Prayer Ministries. And so I found out about Transformational Prayer Ministries through my church. And so you need to know that some of the resources, again, are going to be then my resources that I have there for my church. So you can see there that I have got Oak Point Church there. So we can get both free materials. I have a link there for free materials and also a link there for free transformational prayer. So let's talk about what all of that is, and I'll give you a background and so you can see. But this is what I want you to be clear about. the 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 consultation and the spiritual consult that we have, or the TPM, you can get for free. So there's a lot of people who are really hurting, right? And I have said this for a while, and I am really part of trying to get services to individuals who really need them one way or another. I've said that I have found this therapy to be really exceptional therapy. And it's not therapy. It's not therapy. It is really spiritual consultation. That's where we differ. That's where healthy mind, body, spirit differs from TPM or Transformational Prayer Ministries, right? So this is spiritual consultation. TPM is spiritual consultation, while I offer you actual therapy, all right? But as I'm explaining this introduction, we're going to find out how this all works so that you can get the free TPM, which is so critical to getting real healing. So you have real healing. And we're going to talk about the process to getting real healing in these 7 episodes. But right now, what I want you to do is I want you to kind of get on board with what is transformational therapy and what is uh, uh, transformational prayer ministries, or TPM, which gives you spiritual consultation. This is the reason why when you go to my website, you can see that there are 2 separate approaches here, right? Where one is more of a therapeutic approach, and the other one is really more of a no, I don't want to say that. Well, it is a spiritual guidance, is what it does. It gives you spiritual guidance. And that is by people who are not therapists, but they are trained in TPM, in Transformational Prayer Ministries. And it's because they're trained in it through the church that they are able to provide these services to you for free. So this is an integral part in trying to understand this whole system. You can get free therapy, but it is really a spiritual guidance is what you are getting, and training on how to be able to help transform some of these habits that are creating triggers, what we call triggers in your life, and how to be able to overcome them, and more importantly, learn or understand what we're supposed to be learning from that event in our lives. Remember, we are not supposed to be eliminating pain in our lives in order to get to a higher level of happiness. That is not how the world works. But when we get the most out of our experiences, that is how we then really transform ourselves, right? When we get the most out of our experiences, we end up experiencing the fruits of those positive experiences, the fruits of the positive outcomes or rewards of those experiences. And those fruits are things like peace, joy, and love. So when do we know that we are getting the fruits of our labors, that we have transformed, that when we are at a healthy place mentally and physically, when we are experiencing fruits? And it doesn't mean that we are happy all the time, but we do have joy in our life's events, right? So peace, joy, love. That's a great way. Goodness. Do you experience goodness in your life? Do you experience kindness in your life? Do you experience patience? All of those things are outcomes of a healthy life. Do you experience self-control? So those are things that demonstrate a healthy existence, both mentally and physically. So that's what we get to through this therapy. And I have found it to be the best because in all the years that I've been around here, it's the only approach that I have found that really does transform individuals. Actually, there's one other approach that I found as well that we're going to talk about as we go through this. So let's continue on with trying to lay the foundation so you can get a better understanding. Because remember, this is great, right? We've got some free consultation here that really can help you. Not my consultation, right? Some real free spiritual guidance that will help you get out of your or see a better perspective on those things that are stopping you in life, that are really causing you great distress in life. Okay, that's what we're looking for, and I have found an approach that I have turned into a therapy that I know transforms individuals. That's what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to my PowerPoint that I have here for you. All right, so there are the resources, and I pretty much covered all of them except for now what I actually want to do is I want to just show you a couple of the material, and we'll see. I don't know if it's going to end up letting me it's supposed to let me. Okay, so some of the things that we have here is, first of all, you can see that when you go to the TPM website, what you have here is you've got all the training materials that you need. So that right there is a manual. And you can see if it's going to let me interact, and I'm not sure if it will let me interact, but we will see. Ooh, there we go. I am interacting. Very good. You can see that you can order a physical copy, but you can also download the PDF here. And so what this is telling you is it is showing you the principles and the foundations for Transformational Prayer Ministries, or TPM. Again, this is the foundation for my therapy. So you can see that you have got free access to resources. I'm going to move on here, and here you can see you also have what is called the process of TPM. And this process of TPM is also another manual as well, and this shows you exactly how you can perform transformational prayer on yourself. And so the thing that you end up learning, and you can see here again, you can order the physical copy, but you can also download the PDF. And there's another book here where you do not have a free PDF to, but it's called Effortless Forgiveness. And this is an amazing book. All of these materials are put together here by Ed Smith and his son Joshua Smith, who have been working on this form of transformation through Transformational Prayer Ministries for about the last 25 years. And so again, what you can see there then is that you can get all of those resources for free. So let's keep following along to see what I'm saying. The very first thing is that the foundation of my therapy is Transformational Prayer Ministries, which is a Christian-based resource that is free to individuals that can give you this type of therapy. Now, that might scare some people because it's a Christian-based resource. For those of you who are Christian, it's not going to scare you. For those of you who are not Christian, you may wonder how that works for you. And again, what you want to go to find out better about how that works for you is to go to my website, healthymindbodyspirit.net, and go to /spirit. And when you go to that one, that's going to talk just a little bit more to you if you are not a Christian, whether or not this Transformational Prayer Ministries, TPM, will work for you. Again, if it works for you, if you check it out on my website, and you can also go to the TPM website, Transformational Prayer, or what is it here? Let me see. Transformationprayer.org, so you can find out a little bit more. So here we've got transformationprayer.org. That's where you can get the free materials there. So transformationprayer.org, TPM study guides is where you get the free materials. And then you can see there that you can get free TPM by going to oakpoint.org /transforming prayer. And that one will, you can do either face-to-face, or they do have free Transformation Prayer Ministries on Zoom. And so we've had people in Dallas, Texas who have been on Zoom, and all over the country who have done the TPM for free on Zoom. So it doesn't matter where you are. Now, if you would like to see me for Transformation Prayer, I also do Transformation Prayer, but I mix it in with my other form of psychology that I know as well, which includes health psychology and positive psychology. So I use other forms of therapy that's mixed in with this transformational prayer. Okay, let's move on just to keep moving. So what is transformation? And here I've got that beautiful picture of how going from a caterpillar to a gorgeous, beautiful butterfly. So, what is transformation? Well, as I started to say from the very first picture that I showed you, transformation, what can we expect from transformation? Well, because it is God driven, spiritually driven, we can expect real change. And some of that change is going to be effortless, just like that book was telling you. How hard is it sometimes for us to forgive people who have wronged us? And how wonderful wouldn't it be to be able to do that effortlessly? So, what is transformation? Well, for a caterpillar to go completely to something so completely different was effortless for that caterpillar. So, what is transformation? Well, in part, it should be effortless. Some of it is effortless. However, not all of it is, right? There does have to be stages that individuals have to go through in order to get to the transformation. And that's the part that I help you with in educating you with those steps. Now, that's you get that both from me, which you can get, and what I would advise to get it from me after you get the free therapy from Transformational Prayer Ministries. So check that out, and then we'll talk. We'll have a free consultation for what I can do with you for you beyond that, because I know that you're going to get so much out of this Transformation Prayer Ministries that you're going to want to continue really developing yourself in positive, healthy ways. All right? So, there are specific steps that you want to learn, and those also become more and more effortless once we learn them and engage in them. So, this whole process is about teaching you the skills that you need to go through the process to transform yourself. And then, when you need boosters on that, when you come across a problem where you really have difficulty trying to figure it out, that's when you come back to me. So let's talk a little bit more about that, all right? So again, transformation consists of something that seems to be really effortless, as well as something that is a part of a process that really does have sometimes um, hard to explain outcomes, but there's a mechanism to it. All right, so now let's take a look at what is transformational therapy. So I talked to you a little bit about, actually, you know what I want to talk to you about? Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about transformational therapy. All right, what is transformational therapy? It is, first of all, traditional psychology. So as I've said, I have a background in social, cognitive, and developmental psychology, which equates to an area of expertise, which is positive psychology. Positive psychology looks at positive health outcomes for all individuals. And are these behaviors leading to healthy outcomes? Are these thoughts leading to healthy outcomes? Are my social interactions and those people those groups I belong to, are they leading to healthy outcomes? And that's the background that I have. So that's traditional psychology. However, I also have a background in non-traditional psychology. In positive psychology, we really do take a look at this bigger picture. And the bigger picture does combine things like nutrition as well as spirituality, because we know that all of those things together are what is required for good health today. And we can see that when we only focus on, for example, medication, We are not getting people who are mentally healthy. Right now, we are facing some of the greatest mental health crises that we have ever seen in our nation, despite the fact that we have supposedly the best health care available. Well, it's only available to some people, and there are many people who are suffering. So we need to take a look at this traditional allopathic healthcare system that we have and begin to introduce some non-traditional, non-medical approaches, non-traditional medical approaches to our health. And that's what this transformational therapy does for you. Combines all of those things, and those are my unique skills. So I combine those with traditional transformational prayer ministries or traditional TPM. Let's take a look just a little bit more closely at TPM. Lucy, stop it. Okay, and this is Dr. Ed Smith. I don't have a picture of his son, which is his name is Joshua Smith, and he really is the one now who is taking over the Transformational Prayer Ministries, although they are working very closely hand in hand and have been constantly updating those resources for you. So again, you saw the resources that I have available. I have those linked underneath here as well for transformational prayer. So take a look at those resources, and all of those resources Dr. Smith makes available to you for free. And so I need to make sure that I am giving some wonderful credit to and attention to all of the great services that Dr. Smith has done in this Transformation Prayer Ministries for over 25 years, refining this. And I want to just give you just a little bit of a background so that maybe you can appreciate the hard work that Dr. Smith has done for all of us in this unique ministry that he has set up. So initially, when he started approximately 25 years ago with this idea that individuals were getting some relief in their mental health issues, but they were not getting complete relief. That is, that they were experiencing some relief temporarily, but they were not getting relief long term. Many of the individuals that Dr. Smith was working with, which is very similar to Dr. Freud, by the way, had worked with many women who were sexually abused. And although they could get some spiritual relief through cognitively understanding that they had no reason to feel guilty or ashamed about their condition or their experiences, nevertheless would have temporary relief from the guilt and shame, but would not have permanent relief from those feelings of guilt and shame. And so Dr. Smith refined some of his approaches to this Transformation Prayer Ministries that he developed, and we're going to talk about that approach as we go along. But in this approach, what he found was a way that individuals were getting long-lasting relief. Not necessarily all at one time, but relief in a particular area, and then as the spiritual direction continued, these individuals would get more relief for many of the deep-seated issues that they have. So individuals are seeing in a very short time frame through Transformational Prayer Ministries some real relief, real progress in the things that bother them and make their hearts ache and make their relationships dysfunctional. This is the first type of direction that anybody has ever gotten that I've seen that's giving individuals real, deep, long-term relief in very short periods of time. The program at Oak Point that I go to, which is the TPM program in Novi, Michigan, There are other programs across the country. They also go by inner healing or theophostic prayer. So they go by different names that are similar that you can find across the country. So if you're looking for this type of spiritual guidance, is what they call it, because they are not therapists. So you need to know that. They're not therapists, although there are some people who are qualified therapists as well, that are on staff as well. Individuals who are trained in TPM do not have to be therapists, licensed therapists. And you'll see why. Because the process is a simplified process that we can do on ourselves, and we can become our own therapists. Not that we don't need guidance along the way, but this is what makes this direction, guidance, spiritual approach, and my therapy very, very unique. Okay? So hopefully that gives you some understanding. Again, take a look at those resources, especially the resources that you can find at transformationalprayer.org, because those resources about TPM and what Dr. Smith has done, those resources are endless. They're endless. You can learn all kinds of things. If you have had even experiences, for example, with evil spirits, so satanic experiences, for example, this is the type of spiritual direction that you're looking for individuals who have long-term, deep-seated conflict and triggers. This is the type of spiritual direction you are looking for. And we'll talk about how you can do that with your own system of beliefs. That's what I'm here for, to help you meld your system of beliefs along with what I have found to be the best spiritual direction, or the best direction, guidance, counseling, that I call it counseling, that you could possibly get. Okay? So I hope you continue to look into it a little bit more. All right. So check out all those resources, and you can also get those resources, like I said, below there. Just click on some of those resources that I have below. I have been telling you all about myself throughout, so here's a slide that tells you about my background and why it is that what I'm doing is so different than everybody else. It's because I am not only educated in therapy or counseling or even spiritual direction. I'm educated in a very vast background that helps you in all three of those areas. In your mind, in your body. I have had, first of all, over 20 years of experience in psychology. I've been studying nutrition and the body all along the way, but actually nutrition for at least the last 7 to 10 years. And have much better guidance to give you on that as well. And my spiritual journey has been going on for since I was an infant, since my mom started teaching me my prayers when I was only 3 years old. So my spiritual journey started likely even in the womb. And so I have great, vast experience in those areas. And so in that way, even individuals who have experience in, for example, Eastern meditation, I know the science and the evidence behind that. So my experience is vast. So what do you need to do in order to get started in any way? Well, you can go ahead and visit those websites. In particular, visit my website if you want to get started in my direction and learn a little bit more about how I meld all of those things together for a real healthy transformation, a real healthy transformation. That is what I am promising you. Now, I'm promising it to you. Okay, all right, so what you want to do is you want to go visit my website. You also want to email me at Dr. Feravich, Dr. F as in Frank, ERA, V as in Victor, ICH, at healthymindbodyspirit.net. Email me and I can give you some more details about anything that you have questions on about this and lead you in the right direction for free direction and guidance, which has a spiritual base to it as well. I can give you some great direction on that to get that for free. Begin getting it for free. And it is not any of this kind of voodoo kind of spirituality that's trying to get you on board with a whole bunch of, you know, uh, you know, crazy kind of cultish thoughts. It's not like that at all. But check it out. This is a time where we really need relief, and many of us are going to therapists that are very unskilled, despite the fact, or they're very unskilled because we can get our insurance to pay for them. And it's still not getting to the root of the problem. And again, we end up making friends with our therapists for years without any real relief. Therapy is not about a friendship. And it's not even really about necessarily validating the things that you feel or think. You can't change other people, and to emphasize the wrongdoings of other people and empathize with those experiences feels good, but therapy very often doesn't feel good, because in order to get to real problematic behaviors, problematic thoughts, and real deep-rooted beliefs, well, that's not easy, all right? So, but we're gonna show you how to do it in a way that's at least not financially painful. So I will show you, come to me. I gave you all that information on how to get to me. I will get you the free therapy, all right? And then after that, you come back to me. And what we'll do is we'll do some touch-ups, we'll do some guidance. I'll give you my area of expertise in both positive and health psychology. And what I charge you there is $30 for 25 minutes that I will give you after your therapy. You'll find out, you'll see how the program goes when you visit Oak Point, and you see, because they will talk to you about and give you an introduction to everything. So you go there, get your introduction to TPM, get your free spiritual guidance there, or direction that you get there, and then you come to me for the psychology of it all, and you will see really some unbelievable changes, some real transformation. And when we talk about transformation, I have to say that we are the people who really know what transformation means. People who believe in higher powers have a real understanding of what transformation is. I mean, think about it. Darwinian theory really doesn't have any great transformation whatsoever. So, you want great transformation? I will give you not only some real skills to help that happen. I'm going to give you some real hope to make that come true. And that hope that I give you is really going to end up being your lifeline, your motivation to real change. I think that's all that I have. Let me see here just to make sure. I have another slide. Nope, that's it. So, thank you for joining me for this little introduction, although quite a bit longer than I wanted it to be, to transformational therapy. And what do we have for next week? Well, for next week, we have in our Healthy New You in 2022, part 2 on a healthy mind. Next week, we are going to be talking about triggers. And so we've heard this word, right? We use this word now. We are lots of people using this word on a regular basis. I'm going to give you a definition of what triggers are, and we're going to talk about what they have to do with some really unhealthy behaviors, and how we can identify those unhealthy behaviors and move into a healthy direction. All right, thank you for joining me. I appreciate that. My name is Dr. Annette Feravich. I am with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit, and you can find me on the internet at www.healthymindbodyspirit.net. And join me next Sunday for our talk on what are triggers. Thanks.